Welcome to That Annuity Show, the podcast that will make you an expert in explaining annuities to your clients. Give us 30 minutes each week and we'll shave hours from your client presentations. Now, here's your host, Paul Tyler.
Hi, this is Paul Tyler, and welcome to another episode of That Annuity Show. Tisa, good to see you.
Good morning, Paul, and good morning, everyone.
Yeah, we've been working on some interesting projects. I think that will sort of dovetail nicely with the conversation we're going to have today. Ramsey, how are you?
Excellent. Always good to be here.
Okay, we're actually recording very close to the time we're going to release this, and you had a lot of interesting activity down in Atlanta, right? Last night.
Oh yeah, there was some kind of debate last night.
Whatever it was.
I dodged the traffic and I waited for the commentary because I just felt like it was going to be kind of difficult to watch. So
yeah. Bruno, Canada. I'm sure you were too, Din. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you. It's good to be here.
Great. Well, hey, today, listen, I'd love to welcome a now recurring guest, Mr. Jim Kerley, managing partner of Clearview Partners. Jim, I think this has got to be the third or fourth time we've had you on the show. Is that right?
Yeah, I think at least third.
Yeah.
And it's always fun. It's great to have conversations with you folks.
Well, it is, and I thought we'd grab you as you just released this report entitled "Shifting Distribution, Changing Mindset: Why Advisors Aren't Talking to Consumers About Life Insurance." I mean, this cuts across, I think, everybody's financial practice. But just tell us a little bit more. What is this paper? Why did you write it? And where is it headed?
Since 1931. LIMRA has sponsored a study group called the Research Agency Group. And it's comprised of men and women that run very large financial services retail organizations. So New York Life, Mass Mutual, Northwestern Mutual, and now a growing number of organizations that are part of either an independent brokerage channel or an independent broker-dealer channel. And so in 2019, I was elected the first non-field leader to be a part of that group. It's really quite an honor for me to do that. And all of us have to do research papers about every 4 years. So this was my first paper, and it was exciting to be able to do it. And the idea that I actually had was in part generated by an email sent to the RAG group by David Levinson, who's the president and CEO of LIMRA and LOMA, asking the question, why aren't advisors selling more and talking more to consumers about life insurance? And I thought that was a really interesting topic. So I jumped into it, thinking that the paper would be primarily focused on the advisor's role. And so in the paper, we cover both a supply side question and a demand side question. And then on the supply side, are there really enough consumers that want and need life insurance? The answer, of course, is a resounding yes. 102 million people are either underinsured or don't have insurance. It's about 42% of the population. And many of those same consumers say that they really want an advisor. Something like at the high end level, if you're a financial advisor, the consumers say about 35% of the consumers have a high confidence in a financial advisor. And 25% of that same group respondents said they have a very high confidence level, 25% high confidence level in insurance agents and brokers. So we've got consumers on one side that say we really need it. And they've got, by the way, really confident in advisors. So the fundamental question is, it's not a supply problem, it's a demand problem. Advisors are not talking to consumers about life insurance. And so in the paper, we cover some statistics around how many advisors really are licensed to sell life insurance. What's the pool, if you will? It's larger than we think. We explore the reasons tactically why advisors today in an advisory world aren't talking about life insurance. And what happened over time as I dug into this it's not just an advisor problem, it's a channel problem. And so I discuss the implications of what's going on in the career agency channel. What are the implications going on in the life brokerage channel? And then finally, what's going on in the independent broker-dealer channel. So wrap that all up, put it in a bow, hired a really good editor, and I was able to literally read the presentation as is required by the RAG group members. You literally stand up and read the paper, all 57 pages of it, in early this month. And the group, thankfully, found it very interesting and encouraged me to continue to talk about it. So that's in part why I'm so thrilled to be here today talking to you about the shifting distribution, changing mindsets.
Yeah. So let me just kind of lead off, and I want to push you a little bit, Jim, on the premise. And I've, kind of grown up with this in the business, saying everybody's underinsured. There's this massive gap. Well, markets tend to find an equilibrium. There's a need. There's a, as you say, there's a supply. There's a demand issue. Okay, maybe they don't need it, or it's so hard for those insurance agents to actually get to the consumers because they don't want to necessarily hear about it, that it's not worth the time. If we just focused on, like, I guess, sort of where you headed, which is sort of, what are those what are the top, what's the top item that sort of shifts that thing? Is it product that's easier for customers to understand, or is it simply advisors? We need to make it easier for advisors to explain a product that they might not necessarily know how to sell.
Right. Well, the answer is both, actually. On the consumer side, let's just take the 102 million people that Limerick quotes as the number of people who really could own more life insurance. You have to segment that, right? And so there are lots of people that affordability is a real serious issue. They just simply can't, they don't think they can afford it. Many people overestimate the price of life insurance. That's research that Limmer's been doing for years. But my focus was on really the advisors who tend to work in the high net worth marketplace, or at least the higher middle income markets and above. And everybody says, well, look, there's lots of those people own a lot of insurance, and they do, in fact, but they still have a gap, and there's still millions at risk. So my focus on this paper was essentially advisors serving that kind of a marketplace. And so that's the supply side. The demand side is simply that the career agency channel has become much smaller. We've gone from something like 289,000 financial advisors in 1989 to, in the channel, in the career channel, just lost tremendous percentage of those to either life brokerage or the independent broker-dealer channel. And so the world has shifted, and advisory is the mindset now, not in life insurance. So if I'm an advisor and I'm working for Cetera, or you name the independent broker-dealer, my focus is on wealth accumulation and convincing and supporting clients who want to grow their wealth, want to plan their retirement. And so how do I invest for that? And so life insurance, in the terms of complexity against an investment conversation, is significantly greater. And over time, what happens is, especially in a traditional life insurance agent who has a very successful career, his clients or her clients are now asking them more about wealth than they are about life insurance. I quote a financial advisor in the paper said, life insurance, you sell it and it sits on the shelf for 50 years. But I can be actively with my clients managing their assets every day, every week, every month. So that's what's happening. And the products are significantly more complex. Explain IUL or explain you name it, the kind of product that's very complicated. Product features across carriers differ. And so advisors simply say, you know what, the product's too complex. It's really hard to engage in a conversation with a customer. And by the way, if I do, and we do sell them, her or the family, and something happens along the underwriting trail, am I risking my investment assets that I have with this family? So a lot of risk there. And a lot of clients say, you know what, I just don't know what I used to know about life insurance. And I don't want to put myself in a position where in front of my client, I don't look as confident as I normally do. So it's a mindset. I call it an insurance mindset. And if you think about financial plans, and we stress this a lot in this white paper, what's the foundation of a financial plan? Eliminating the risk if something happens before the plan is completed. Death, disability, those are real potential issues of every person in America today. And so if you're building a financial plan that's going to, you build over 25 years, if you only make it to year 10, your plan's not completed. And what happens to the family with a partially completed plan? Life insurance lays the foundation. It eliminates the risk. And also, it allows the advisor to be able to invest in it with a different mindset because he or she knows that God forbid something happens. As an advisor, I can deliver to my client's family the promise that they're really striving for in their wealth management plan. That's what I believe. That's what really serious financial advisors believe, that have the insurance mindset.
What really amazes me from what you just said is that, well, first, it's obviously very, very, very touching, and the fact that we could have that exact conversation about retirement is amazing to me, because basically what insurance does is bringing the protection basically from working age to end of life, basically. So you have this whole spectrum that allows people and advisors to change their mindset and kind of deal with those contingencies in a much more agile way. So no, I think that makes tremendous sense.
I was speaking with actually my advisor about this topic, and he said, Jim, I had a client come in the other day, it was referred to me, young family, they had $100,000 to invest, and they're all excited about investing it. And he said, well, that's really great. In a nice, friendly startup conversation, he asked this question: what happens with this investment if you die? The plan's not complete. So the first thing he did was take care of the life insurance need of this family. And I can tell you, he didn't spend $100,000 on premiums for that family. So whatever it was, he still had a lot of money, quote unquote, to start their investment plan. Isn't that the way we want for every family?
Sure. So
I think so.
Yeah. So Jim, you've outlined a lot of really interesting sort of headwinds, right, that the industry is facing. So there's a demographic issue, there's a philosophical issue, there are all sorts of things. Like how should the industry think about starting to find some solutions to these headwinds? What are your thoughts there?
The very last question I asked in the paper was this: will you join me in advancing the primary message of this paper? The industry, distributors, and advisors need to reignite the life insurance mindset. Mm-hmm. And after I read that paper, I thought to myself, I just made a promise in front of these very, very influential people about this. Maybe I better do something about it. Now, I don't know how much influence I can have on the industry, and each channel is different. So if you talk about the affiliated channel, certainly they're as committed to selling life insurance is very, very committed. But you also look at some of the companies today that are still around and growing career channels. They also have a very high focus on retirement planning and wealth planning. So their quote unquote agents are not agents, they're financial advisors with a foundation of life insurance. So we need to encourage that growth of those companies that still remain. And the agents that are the life insurance advisors that are more mature, we got to help them find reasons to look at life insurance as part of the investment portfolio of the clients they have. Again, just yesterday when I met with my financial advisors, telling me a story about a family that had, I don't know, $13-14 million. They're not going to spend it in their lifetime. He said, well, there may be a way for us to use some life insurance, a life insurance trust, to help you with your estate plan. They never thought of it. So think of all the literally millions of clients that advisors have that have $3, $4, $5, $8, $9 million. And that family probably thinks, well, I've done pretty well, but there are more ways to help them with life insurance. Think about the young families just starting off. They need the protection. So that's the agency channel. The independent brokerage channel, as you have read in the paper and Limerick quotes quite dramatically, they sell more life insurance now based on premium than any other channel. It's like 44%. They're going through tremendous change. Mergers and acquisitions, large private equity investments in 2 or 3 major independent life brokerage organizations. When you get $1 billion to invest in growth, they're not just going to hype up their social media spend. You know what I mean? They're going to be looking for ways to drive technology, to drive consumer preference, to drive advisor ease of doing business. And so I'm looking for, and other people, not just people that know more than I do, are looking for some really interesting changes in the independent broker-dealer space. In the independent life brokerage space. Now, if you move over to the independent broker-dealer space, their focus is, rightly so, all about investments. But more and more of them are acknowledging, according to the experts that I spoke with that study this full time, the broker-dealers appreciate and understand that they should be selling more life insurance. And the question is, how do you make it happen? How do you change the channel mindset? How do you change the advisor mindset? And how do you make it easy for life insurance to be a part of their portfolio? I talked in the paper a little bit about product placement. Marketing experts like you, what's product placement? In my definition, it's life insurance product placement in the mind of the advisor first. That's insurance mindset. Somebody had a question for me.
Well, yeah, Jim, I was gonna ask exactly kind of where you're going, which is it about making that advisor change their mindset or have the insurance mindset, or is it shifting back to a model? And I'm curious, in your opinion, that one person doesn't have to know all the things or know broadly across all products, but they can partner. So whether that's bringing in a life insurance specialist or what are your thoughts around one person not being the only one to offer what the services to the client and working more on a partnership basis, whether that's one person in the practice? I'm just curious. I've seen the model work, shifted away from it. What are your thoughts on going back to something like that?
In my paper, Bob Kersner, prior CEO of Limmer and Loma, told us, it's almost a quote, not quite a quote, but if you're not in the life insurance business full time, it's really hard. Mm-hmm. And I agree with that. And I agree with your point. We're seeing companies that are using more financial advisory teams made up of experts. We're seeing organizations, especially at the more local level, that have an insurance desk So my advisor, I can tell you if he has and he's a seasoned insurance guy before he became a wealth manager. If he has a client that needs life insurance, he sends that life insurance request to the insurance desk at his firm, who do all the proposal work. They recommend the carriers they should be placing. And so when that comes back to him, he's fully prepared. So yes, I think you're absolutely right. Our brains can only manage so much. And so what I'm suggesting is not that every advisor be an expert in insurance. What I'm asking and really thinking about is how do I change the insurance mindset of advisors so they will know, or at least be willing to ask the consumer or a client, have we thought about protecting the risk of something happening to you before your plan is complete? That's all he has to ask for, or her ask for. Client's going to say, what do you mean? We need to think about life insurance. Let my life insurance professional, my partner, help us with that. Is a great strategy. So,
Yeah.
So, question I have is just on how maybe the decisions around planning and asset allocation have shifted, right? As organizations get bigger, and advisors are affiliated with larger and larger organizations. I mean, it used to be that advisors exercised a great deal of discretion over their clients' portfolios. But now, in a lot of shops, all those things are centrally planned. So I'm just wondering, like, how much of this problem, or this opportunity, I'll call it, how much of this is best addressed at the advisor level, sort of blocking and tackling, or is it trying to get to whoever's in central planning, if you will, who's dictating what the menu is of portfolios, right? Or to what extent, like the planning software everybody is using incorporates line items for insurance. This isn't an easy challenge, but I'm wondering if that's maybe the place to go in 2024 and beyond.
If you're in an agency channel, they're going to promote life insurance as a fundamental part of the plan.
Yeah,
guaranteed. If you're with an independent broker dealer, their goal is to get advisors to gather assets. Just different model, right? But they know the heads of these broker dealers recognize that they're not doing as good a job on life insurance as they should. And by the way, the revenues that they get today from life insurance, like 1 or 2%. I quote a statistic from the Financial Advisory 2023 ranking of independent broker dealers, and I talk about the revenue distribution based on life insurance. It's 1, 2, 4, 5%. Well, that's a big investment for a pretty small amount of money. So we have to figure that out because it can grow. Right? That's a reality of business today. Making it easier for the advisor, supporting the advisor, taking the wholesaler model is working well in some firms. I talked with a firm that has 12,000 advisors. They have something like 8 exclusive relationships with brokerage general agents and a couple of hundred wholesalers in the mix from those brokerage organizations. And those wholesalers are working with agents one-on-one. And when there's a connection and the relationship is right, so that the investment advisor, trusts the insurance advisor, they can do a really good job for their client. Is that scalable, though? I don't know. It hasn't seemed to be yet. So there are lots of models that are working at the small level. And I think at the advisor level, helping that advisor either become comfortable with the life insurance products and be comfortable having the conversation, or having a support system that can provide the expertise that financial advisor holding the advisors as a group accountable for more life insurance sales. That's where you start. And a number of channels they just don't simply have that control.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to just ask. I got to ask technology questions, Jim. Here, so you mentioned a word earlier, and one just now: confidence and comfort. Right. When I think about the agency side or the broker dealer side, honestly, I feel like a lot of the training development work comes down to making somebody feel confident enough to knock on good luck today, knock on a door, send an email, make a phone call, send a text message. What's the possibility of technology to make this easier for firms to actually get agents to the point where they feel like they can talk to an actual human being about a product like this?
Well, it's interesting because one of the recommendations that I had for at the industry level is explore AI-based industry solutions that offers a client an easy and natural way to start the life insurance conversation with the advisor. So, it's kind of like the pharmaceutical companies ads on TV. You got to take this pill because it's going to change everything. By the way, you better go ask your doctor. The same idea here, right? Or do it in reverse. And I do think that there are much better ways, more efficient ways, especially now in the future as we think about whatever AI can help us do to make that conversation easy, to make the ability for a client and an advisor to come up with a recommendation that's easy to present and makes it simple. And then somehow, and companies are already doing this, making the underwriting process faster, easier. And companies are investing millions and millions of dollars to do that. And we have many successful models where simplified underwriting, easy processing, straight through, and to buy $2, $3, $4, $5 million of life insurance coverage. And I'm not just talking term insurance here, right? So I think that piece of it is really starting to get easier and easier. But the link between that and a mindset is pretty far away. Because advisors say, if my client gets turned down or is rated or, I don't like asking the health questions. Got to find out a way to do that. And, we hear Big Lou every day on the radio. There's got to be a better way. So.
Is Big Lou up there too? I thought Big Lou was just in Atlanta.
So, your answer, Paul, to the technology is we've got to use that more efficiently, and we've got to be able to connect the technology solution to the human solution. Because at the end of the day, what are we really talking about here? Talking about protecting the economic value of an individual to support a family need, or the economic value of a business if the business owner should die prematurely. I mean, there are all kinds of sophisticated things you can talk about, but simply, what is the economic value we're trying to protect? Financial advisors are trying to get an economic value to grow over time to get you to a retirement dollar amount. What I'm saying is, you've got to ensure your lifetime income value. I mean, that's as basic a life insurance principle as you can get to, and it's still valuable today. It's as valuable today as it was in 1969 when I started in the life insurance business.
There's no doubt Jim, about it. Go ahead, Tisa. It's your turn.
I was just going to go back to the technology comment and leveraging it to improve efficiency. But one thing you said that I want to go back to is the idea that technology can be the thing that can scale the education, because some of the demographics you talk about, underinsured, or not insured at all in your paper, let's be honest, that may not be the target market that agents are focusing on, maybe for the retirement or the investment conversation. So they're sort of left out of that piece. But from a scalability of educating
to understand I have the need, create more of, you said the supply is there, but the lack in demand. So just thinking about connecting the dots with education and technology, maybe it's more of a direct to consumer education play that gets the lead to the agent, less than it is a direct to consumer sale.
Yeah,
So
I think you're right. We have to look at the population and segment based on availability to product, income, understanding. But the Limmer research would point out to you that the high confidence in working with an advisor, right? We know from all kinds of research that consumers are using the web, they're using Google, they're using all kinds of
to do their research.
technology-based information to find out about what they think they need. But at the end of the day, a vast majority of consumers today go, I think I know, but I'm not sure. Maybe I should talk to somebody. And
we see that every day,
right?
Once they can educate on their own, research on their own, but when comes time to actually move forward with the purchase, they want to talk to somebody first.
Yeah. And by the way, there are like three, I think, critical questions that consumers have. How much do I need? How much does it cost? And what type should I buy? And I can go back into the LIMRA Information Center, which is fabulous, by the way, and dig out a report that I used when I was at LIMRA. It was published in 1970. And you know what the three reasons in 1970 were that consumers weren't sure about buying life insurance? The very same reasons I just outlined today. It hasn't changed.
No, yeah, it's listen, a lot of bases of this business haven't. I do think I'm bullish on this latest wave of AI technology. I've got a neighbor of mine who is doing a lot of AI work in the educational field. He's working with a whole state to bring AI into the school systems. And Jim, it's I think we'll be able to borrow a lot, because you think, how do people learn? I learn visually. Tisa learns by reading. Ramsey's an audio learner. I don't know what Bruno does, but Bruno does something. But
I'm visual, by the way.
Yeah. But I think the ability to sort of tailor my specific the way I learn, to the content that we're trying to push, I think it'll open doors and take a lot of this friction out of here. You're right, 3 questions, but again, I bet there's some really different approaches, and I bet it's like how you connect with each individual person is very different. So I don't know. I think some industries we can learn a lot if we kind of go back to the basics. How are we teaching this stuff? How are we supervising this stuff? How are we? Which sector is doing the most interesting thing over here? What can we steal and drop in our business?
Yeah, and by the way, apply that same idea to advisors. If you came into the business as a life insurance agent in an affiliated channel, at the local level, like every Monday, you had to get in. You got in a room with all the other new agents, and you had to give the scorecard for the week. What did you do? That's on Monday. On Thursday, you went to a class for 2 hours, and what did they teach you? They taught you about life insurance, how the product works, but they also taught you sales skills, relationship building skills, and client connections. Right? Today, the typical investment advisor may be getting lots and lots of training on the latest investment strategies, how the portfolios are working. To Bruno's point, listening to the guys at Investment Central talking about what they're doing and how to select a portfolio. Nobody's talking about life insurance. And by the way, the emotional connection that you have to make with a life insurance conversation, I believe, is dramatically different than the conversation you have to have around the investment strategy. It's more fun. It's exciting. It's full of dreams and potential. And I talk about life insurance. They go, you got hit by that truck. Would you rather talk about getting hit by that truck or the glamour of investing in some great stock?
Yeah,
I mean, very clear tension.
Right.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Hey, listen, we're near the top of our time. I don't know, Bruno. What else? What are the questions? What other thoughts do you have on this topic?
No, I love the kind of the history timeline and how things have evolved so much from as you mentioned almost 100 years ago to now AI. When you started in 1969 at New England Mutual Life Insurance Company, how things change, but at the same time, how things do not change, and how those three questions remain the same questions that people have today. I think there's a lot of lessons that we can all take from this and from that paper that you just released.
Thank you. My greatest fear is that the insurance mindset will not be developed properly, and that the life insurance sale or conversation is not going to happen as much as it should be in the future. And we're going to be letting down millions of people as an industry. And we don't want to do that. I know we don't want to do that as an industry. We're committed, we're passionate, we believe in what we do. And we just got to face the truth that we got to get more people talking about it. We need to figure out the fundamental question. Changing mindsets and helping advisors talk to consumers more about life insurance.
Tisa, how do we
Easy
do that?
to say, hard to do.
Tisa, what's your solution for that?
Well, you may not be expecting this answer, but when I talk to my friends about life insurance and what's needed and why, I always talk about two choices. Do you want me to put up a GoFundMe post on Facebook when you pass, or do you want to have everything protected and, quite honestly, give whoever's left behind that you care about a base for building wealth? Because the way that those dollars, transfer and the amounts that those dollars can be, you're talking, call it some 6-figure to 7-figure infusion of assets to those you leave behind. That builds wealth. Like, that is an immediate boost to someone who may not, be able to think about wealth or building or accumulating in a way that they can today. So usually the GoFundMe piece gets them pretty quickly because it's a really stark contrast to how that process can go. But those are my thoughts, and I wholeheartedly believe in the protection it provides. So maybe I'm not the one who needs to be educated or convinced, but that's usually how I have the conversation with my peers.
So I guess I'm next. Look, I asked a question earlier about centrally determined asset allocation and planning, because I think that's the way the industry has gone. Certainly in my years in the industry, even though most of my years were institutional, I spent a lot of time very close to the wealth management teams at Goldman where I worked, and like the way that even in that shop, like it used to be every advisor was independent, and then well before I left, everything was advisors focus on developing relationships and nurturing the relationships, and a lot of the asset allocation ends up being, again, comes down to some narrower set of menus, and so if that's even the case with investments, I think that in the context of insurance products, I think that's where we have to be, particularly if we're talking about reaching a target audience that goes beyond high net worth individuals that are more likely to get sort of personalized experience as opposed to sort of some of the smaller clients. So from my perspective, I think that's sort of the inevitable direction we're going. I think that sort of potentially creates a very nice place for the AI technology that Paul had referred to earlier, because there are still sort of decisions. There's still decisions to be made about specific use cases, and the extent we can leverage technology to sort of speed up that process, I think it's very, very helpful. So there's no question life insurance is an extraordinarily valuable product that is offered, and I think that the world, and again, as somebody that's touched the space for a long time and being on the board of a life insurance company, I think it's so clear to me, people don't understand how hard it is to actually provide that risk protection. it is really a monumental task, and the life insurance industry does a really good job of doing it. But I think we need to be part of the model. I think we need to be part of the model allocation to get the placement we deserve there.
Well, Jim, I don't know. Did we solve the industry problems for you?
No, we didn't. But I'll tell you what we did do is remind ourselves that, we have insurance paid out $282 billion of guaranteed life benefits between 2020 and 2022. I'll end with this, and just came to my mind, make it a personal story. One of the reasons I have such passion about this is that years ago, I was helping my father move, and I discovered my mother's hope chest in the attic. And in the hope chest were all the memorial notes and letters that my father got when my mother died. My twin sister and I were just almost 5 years old. And the one letter that stood out to me was written by a Northwestern Mutual agent. And his message was, John, I'm really sorry about your wife's death. I'm sorry we didn't have any life insurance on her, but I want to make sure that we have the right beneficiary changes on your policy. My dad was a dentist. He had 4 kids, right? He could have used some money. Now, back then, we weren't selling a lot of insurance to women. I get it. But when my wife passed some 17 years ago now, when I got the life insurance benefit check from her on her death, I was able to split the money. I told my kids, my 2 sons, we're going to split it in thirds. Here's some for you guys. Here's some for me. If you invest it wisely, you'll never have to worry about retirement. I don't know whether they did or not. It's their money, right? But it just shows you the contrast of what the benefits of life insurance can do. And I'm very optimistic. I'm very, very optimistic that we can get more advisors to talk about life insurance if we do all the things you guys are suggesting. AI, technology, make it simple, understand what consumers want, and don't be afraid to ask the simple question, what happens? And I think we'll solve the problem. It's been great being with you guys today. Thanks so much.
Wow, Jim, thanks for sharing
coming
that
back.
story.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Listen, people know what's the best way for people to get a hold of you? Is it LinkedIn, email? What is it?
Email's great.
Okay.
J. Kerley at clearviewpartnersusa.com, long name, or text me at 781-856-7109. And if you want a copy of the paper, I'm happy to mail you an officially bound copy.
Excellent. All right. Well, wow. What a great way to end a Friday.
Thanks.
Thank you, Jim.
And happy 4th of July for everybody.
Okay, great. Hey, listen,
thanks a lot, Jim.
Thanks for joining us, and be sure to tune in again next week for another great episode of That Annuity Show. Thanks.
Thanks for listening. If you've enjoyed the show, please rate and recommend us on iTunes, Stitcher, Overcast, or wherever you get your podcasts. You can also get more information at thatannuityshow.com.